Hi, Sam here, Refrigerator Trim Kits, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the process of designing and building your refrigerator cabinet so that everything fits nicely once you get that trim kit and refrigerator installed. And I'll start off by saying this, if you don't want to go through this process, if you don't want to go find a spec sheet for the refrigerator and do the takeoffs, do a little bit of math, figure out the opening, you're always welcome to email us. We do this all the time. We can take your make and model of refrigerator and find out, we may even have one on file. We can put together a quick little blueprint, email it back to you, usually within a few hours, maybe the next day. But that way, you know everything's going to fit nicely when you get it all installed. Alternatively, you can use this spec sheet and do the math yourself, and that's why we provide it, because a lot of people like to do that as well. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you have the spec sheet for the trim kit that you are purchasing. And so you can do that by looking in the top left-hand corner of the spec sheet. And these are available with each product listing. You'll see links to these spec sheets in each product listing. So let's use this one for example. We've got a flat trim kit that's going to be installed. So we offer a louvered trim kit and a flat trim kit. This is for a flat one. It's going to be flush mounted and it's for double refrigerators. So we offer kits for single refrigerators and double refrigerators. And if you're watching this and you're building a cabinet for a single refrigerator, not to worry, this actually applies to both refrigerators. We're just gonna, when you do a single, you'll leave a couple of dimensions out, which you'll see here in a moment. So find the right spec sheet, confirm you have the right one, and then what you'll do is go find the refrigerator spec sheet. So I'm gonna stack two LG refrigerators next to one another and have this nice double refrigerator, and we're gonna build an opening for that. So this is the spec sheet for this LG refrigerator. And what you're looking for are some dimensions, and you'll find these in various locations for different makes and models. But you'll find basically the same language used on all the spec sheets once you find it. So what we're looking for first is the width. And so for the width of this refrigerator, we've got 27 3/8 of an inch. So if we go back over to our spec sheet, you'll see this equation right here. And not to scare anybody with the equation, it's really just some addition. So forgive me with that. But you'll see this equation here that tells us what to add up so that we know what width to make the opening. So you've got basically 23 3/8, which is equal to 23.375 for the two refrigerators, refrigerator 1 and 2, which it tells us right here. And then we want to put a gap between the refrigerator. And I've chosen a gap of quarter of an inch, but you can really choose whatever you'd like. You may want to use a quarter of an inch, maybe half an inch. I just want to make sure there's no interference between the two. Some double refrigerators come with actually a joiner kit. You can choose to install that, and you'll want to use the dimension for that joiner kit if you use that. And so I'm going to use a quarter of an inch. So we're just going to put 0.25 for gap, and then right down here in this equation you'll see that it says we want to add 1 3/8 to the width of the opening for the trim kit. So 1.375 for trim kit. So if we add all that up, then it's going to come up to 56.375 or 56 3/8 for the width of the opening. And so just to get us all on the same page, that's this guy right here, inside the inside. Now, one thing to note while we're on this topic is all the spec sheets down here at the bottom are going to have a note for clearance. So this one says trim overlaps 1 1/16 on each side of cabinet opening. So the reason we say this is we've seen a lot of pictures of refrigerator cabinets, and some people will put cabinet doors that go right up next to the edge of the refrigerator cabinet. And if you're going to put a trim kit, if you're going to install a trim kit, we need to make sure this doesn't happen. That we leave 1 1/16 clearance so that the trim kit can fit. And if you're curious at all throughout the process about how our trim kit is installed or the details of it, on the right hand side of these spec sheets, on all the spec sheets, there's a lot more detail about the actual pieces of the trim kit. So like for instance, this is a side piece of the trim kit, and it gives you the actual dimensions and how it's installed. And then here we've got a side view of the top grill. So it gives you a little more detail about that top grill and how it's going to mount and the dimensions and things like that. So now we know our height. Now let's move on. Now we know our width. Let's move on to our height. So the cabinet opening height, here we've got our equation, is the refrigerator height plus 7.5 inches. So let's go back over here to the spec sheet for the refrigerator. And you're going to see this on some refrigerator spec sheets. We've got two heights given to us. We've got the height of the case and the height to the top of the door hinge. And we always want to choose the height to the top of the door hinge. Now in this case, they happen to be the same, but sometimes the case is lower. We always want to go to the height of the top of the door hinge. So 67 and 6/8 or 67 and 3/4. I'm not sure why they wrote it that way, but they did. So we're just going to write that down here. 67.75 is fridge height. So go back over to our spec sheet, and we're going to add the 7.5 inches for trim height. So if we add those two together, we get 75.25 or 75 and 1/4 inch height of opening. So again, just to make sure we're all on the same page, we're talking about this guy right here, all the way from here down to the finished floor is going to be 75 1/4. So that is how you use the spec sheet along with the refrigerator spec sheet and come up with your cabinet opening. Again, if you have any questions at all, or you don't want to do this once you get into it a little bit, email us support@refrigeratortrimkits.com, and we are happy to help. Thanks.